Okay, my last few years at RCA, before I retired, like Ma and I liked biographies, and we used to read biographies of saints, and stuff like that. And so when I retired in 1991, they had a party for me, and people were donating money in a little tray. So the first thing I had was some money to go on a vacation. So we decided to go up to Gaspé Peninsula, was the first place, and we really enjoyed it. And at that time, Arthur came with us one day. Remember Arthur and Lorraine?
Yes.
And so we were sitting, looking out at the ocean, and PSA Rock is out there. It's a rock that sticks out in the ocean. It's got a hole that you could drive a rowboat through if you wanted to. A big, big rock. And but they have a boat tied in front of it that you can go for a ride. Ma says to Lorraine, let's go for a ride in the boat. So they went down, but Arthur and I stayed right up and just watched the situation, We didn't feel like going out in the ocean.
They were sissies.
So she and Lorraine get in the boat, and they're sitting down like that, and they're going to go around the rock. The rock protrudes way out, and there's a lot of birds flying around. Beautiful white birds, I can't think of the name of them. And anyway, they're in the boat, and it's putt, 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 going, and there was a guy taking care of. All of a sudden, the motor stops, and a guy comes out with a wrench, and he's hitting the motor like that to get it going. And he finally gets it going, but
Lorraine's getting very nervous.
Horrified.
She said, "We stopped way out here, and I don't know what to do." And I said, "Oh, don't worry. He's got a tool, and he's going to fix it for us." So she settled down a little bit, and pretty soon it did start again.
So we're still up there watching the thing. We don't know what's going on. We just saw the boat go out and turn around and come back, see? So she told us the story afterwards. But anyway, that was our trip to Gaspé Peninsula. And after we came back, we decided we'd like to see the saints of this area, New England and New York. And the saints are Mother Cabrini, Mother Seton, and the Indian there is...
Take her with her. Take her with her.
Take her with her. And so the first one we went was down New York City to see Cabrini, because Mother Cabrini was buried there. And so we started off early in the morning and went down to New York City, and it said it was 175 Broadway. So I started at about 160 Broadway, and I started going up, and it was 161, 62, and it went up to 69, and 70, and it stopped. And so I said, wait, there's no more. So I saw a cab driver over there. I drove over to the cab driver, and I asked him, hey, what's the story? I want to go to 175. And he says, oh, you got to go to the one parallel to this. And he says, go down here, take a right, and go on that one. And I went on that one, and sure enough, 175 popped, and it was a beautiful church. And it was crowded, right? Just before 11 o'clock Mass. And I was trying to make it at 11 o'clock, see? And it was cars parked all the way around, but and we were in the Jeep, and there was one little slot for the Jeep to go in. It was just right, like a gift.
That's a heaven sent.
So we went out and went in, and we sat down with the people piling in, and we saw under the altar is Mother Cabrini's body right there in full view with a glass cover. And so we saw her, yeah. And we heard Mass and communion, and went back, talked to one of the nuns about it, and then we went out, got in the car, and that was that excursion. Now the next excursion was Mother Seton. So on the way back, we were going through Connecticut, and we found from our books that she was buried at Emmitsburg in Connecticut. Maryland. take that back. It was Maryland. So we went up to Emmitsburg, and there's a shrine there. And then we went in back where she taught, and her grave was there, and a little schoolhouse. She was a teacher, you know. And we saw that, and it said she died at, she was only, what, 21 years old or something?
Yeah,
Real young.
Real young.
And so then we went over to the shrine and said a few prayers, and a nun took us through the school and everything. And that was interesting because we sent her a card afterwards when we got home, you know. She was very nice. And now the next one, we went home, and then the next was Tekakwitha, was an Indian among the Mohawks and so forth. So we had to go up by Albany, follow the Hudson up, and then there was a Mohawk River that comes off it. And when you go off it, all of a sudden you see a sign that the missionaries were on the left. They used to stay there. So we went in and had all Indian teepees and log cabins and everything else and signs, and that's where Tekakwitha hung out for a while. See, that's all I could say. And yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know that existed till we got there.
Till we came across it, yeah.
And so that was a interesting trip. Let's see. Is that when we come back from Cleveland to help your sister?
Seeing my sister, yeah.
We had to go.
Combine that trip with seeing my sister.
Yeah, she was having trouble out in Cleveland. So we went out and stayed with her for 2 weeks and helped her empty the house because she was going to be moved to another place. And she didn't get it right off. She said, "What are you doing?" Saying, "Oh, it's not," you know. And I couldn't.
Yeah, she wasn't too keen on it, but after a while she liked the idea because she couldn't really pack up anything and clean the house up, you know. So anyway, we decided to do that.
So I was reading her at the table, and I says, and she never says anything, you know. She just like this. And so I says, "Look at Teresa. I'm going to tell a joke," and all my kids laugh like crazy at this joke. And I told the joke, and and I said, "Hey, why don't you laugh?" And she went, "Ha ha," something like that. And I couldn't make her laugh. It was funny. So, oh yeah, so we went out to eat. Now, one of my close friends was a pilot on a B-17 in England, and he bombed Germany. And while I was at school in Vermont, and so I wrote him and I says, mention ash cans in your letter, and I'll know you bombed Berlin. See, because they oh, you ought to see his letters are all cut up in case spies, you know. But if they think that it has something to do with it, they cut it up with scissors and stuff. So I sent him a letter, and I says, I used to put the ash cans out, you know, every Monday or something like that. I says, mention ash cans. So he sends me another letter, and then he says, yeah, I remember putting the ash cans out in the letter. So I knew he bombed Berlin, see? And then I didn't hear from him again, and then I found he was lost at war. And then the mother, I used to see his mother, and he was, what do they call it when you're lost? There's a
missing in action. Missing in action.
Missing in action, exactly what I'm trying to say. He was missing in action, and so then she kept getting news from the people. See, he was a co-pilot, and there was 10 in the plane. The other 8 were back, you know, firing guns, taking care of the radio and all that stuff. And he apparently did not bail out because one of the guys talked to his mother and said, I only counted 9 shoots, and there should have been 10, see? So apparently he tried to land it himself. And we, to be optimistic, we figured he landed it and the Germans captured him and put him into this special stockade that they had for pilots. And they were treated a little better than Auschwitz, you know what I mean? Because they were pilots. And but we never did find out if he went there. And then she went over there, yeah, after the war. And they led her to a cemetery in France, and it had his name on it. And so we're trying to figure out, you know, how that happened. And so that's the end of that
What
story.
was his name?
And LeBaron, Warren LeBaron.
And he had a brother that,
A brother, Reuben, who was in the Marines.
yeah, he looked into it and
Now-
he couldn't find anything for his mother.
Now, his brother Reuben, in the Marines, had to go to the island of Tarawa, I believe it is, which we lost a lot of guys in that one. But he made it. And I remember them talking about the landing at Tarawa was a son of a gun, because the Japanese were really waiting for us. And but he made it. And so after we got married and lived at Trapella Road, Mrs. LeBaron, no, he married a Russian lady, remember?
Yeah.
He married a Russian lady. I think his mother had already died. They came and visited us at 1253 Trapella Road. And I saw his wife, and she was a little, slightly plumper, very nice lady with white hair.
Yeah.
And so that was cute, meeting them. And so he made it back, and he married a Russian lady. And so now I was in our retirement. I'm trying to think of what other trip did we take? Was it to see Eddie?
Yeah, we always take little short trips here, there, and everywhere, but nothing's.
To get to Teresa, I had to go the length of Pennsylvania and went to Butler, where my brother was a monk. And
He died.
I guess I told you this, huh? I went up, and,
Yeah, I think that's
and the priest comes out of the church, and he's dressed in the same robes as
His brother.
double take there. And he showed us his real grave marker that they had for monks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we stayed there for a little while, and he was great to talk to. He was the head of the place, but the monks no longer occupied the place. And so we went from there to Warren, Ohio, where Buzz was.
My
His
brother
brother
Buzz.
Buzz was in Warren, Ohio. So we went up, and he had a job with a gas company, collecting bills. You know, he'd go to the houses and show the bill and trying to collect from these guys that were not on time.
And pay their bills.
And so one time he had to go in, and gangsters were meeting in the cellar, and he had to go in there to read the gas thing. And the guy's at the door, "What do you want?" Yeah, like that. And he's up just trying to read the gas read. He looks around, and all these characters are looking at him. And so he says, "I got to go in and read the gas meter." "All right, come along, but keep your mouth shut." You know, that kind of stuff. And he had to go through these guys, read the meter, and come back out. He said it was scary. And that was one time. Now, another time, a guy had a German police dog at the door, and he sent them after him. But he had a wrench in his hand because he has to close the gas company if they don't pay the bill with a wrench. And here comes the dog with his mouth wide open like this. He puts the wrench out, and the dog clamps the wrench and breaks some teeth. He goes back to his master, back to his master, and the master's mad at him. "What you do? You hit my dog!" And Buzz says, "Yeah, but he was going to kill me." And Yeah, and he turned around and walked away. That's all I heard of the story.
Yeah.
But that was a scary thing,
What
eh?
was
He had that.
Crazy job.
He had the big monkey wrench, you know. And the dog went after it.
That was a tough job.
Boy.
Moral of the story is always have a monkey wrench with you
Yeah.
when you're collecting back bills.
So I thought, put a glove over the wrench, see? And when he goes after it, can't
Down
run.
his throat.
So,
We're not too kind, are we? Okay, enough of these nightmares.
so the next one was with Lorraine. Remember we stopped at a restaurant in next to our apartment? I had called up ahead of time to get a overnight stay at what you call Wolf River was the name of the intersection with the St. Lawrence River and Wolf River. There was a nice little well-known restaurant. What was the name of that? Well-known.
I don't know that. I don't
We
remember.
stayed overnight. Okay, right across the street was a restaurant, and they all spoke French, but Lorraine knows French. And so we're sitting there, and she's ordering the stuff for us. And she said, you know,
I want milk, but I
Yeah.
want it skim milk. How do you tell it?
yeah, du lait, and everything. And she was there because she could.
We didn't
To the waitress, you know, she'd say no to the waitress and no du lait and all this kind of stuff, and it was fun. So we stayed overnight in that place, and the next day we ate downstairs over at another town, and first thing you know, they're both out trying to find the church right off. And so they walked around and found the church, and that was near the Gaspé Harbor there.
Oh yeah.
And
They have, yeah.
and before that, we ate outside. What do they call it when you eat outside? There was a name for it. We had to go up some stairs, and it was outside eating. And
Wasn't a picnic. Wasn't a picnic.
son of a gun, I can't think of the name,
No.
but it was very popular then
Oh,
to eat outside.
cafe.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I can't remember.
And
That was a
but
long time ago.
as soon as the wind come up, I said, "Hey, we're out of here." It's blowing the napkins and I mean, the heck with it. And so we ate inside.
Travelers we ain't.
So we went all the way to the Gaspé Peninsula. This is on the way. I'm getting them mixed up. We went to Gaspé and saw the rock.
Yeah.
Went around the corner and you could see the rock with a hole in it. See, and so we went by here and we went past the rock and found a place up in the hill where we stayed. Where Arthur and I watched them. Okay, but before, when we were going back and could see it in ahead of us, we stayed to eat at this place. And this young fella comes out as our waiter.
Waiter.
Yeah, and he waited on us good, and that was on the way home. And let's see. Okay, and so that. Oh yeah, but we wanted to go home. We had come up the St. Lawrence River. See, if you go to Quebec, then you follow a road along the St. Lawrence River that takes you to the Gaspé Peninsula, and it's very pretty along there. The hills, and it's really gorgeous. So we wanted to try coming back the other side of the peninsula. So we tried it, and it was dull. So we came all the way down and went into Maine, and
Back home.
yeah, and and that was
The end
the
of
end
that.
of the trip. Yeah.
I have a question. Is that when you went to St. Anne's Church? Is it?
St. Anne's
We
River.
it wasn't during that trip. We had done it on another one, and we went to Quebec, and 20 miles north. It's north. 20 miles north is Saint Anne de Beaupré. The name of the town is Beaupré, And the story was that some sailors got caught out in the river. There's a wide river there. Got caught out in the river, and they prayed to Saint Anne to save them. And they came and landed right there, and so they said they were going to try to make a chapel there because we were saved. And you ought to see it now. It's a beautiful, beautiful church. And as you went to that church, you could see all the crutches and everything. You had people that were cured. And one had
Mary's mother? Is that Mary's mother?
Mary's mother was Saint Anne. That's her middle name, you know.
And mine too.
Yeah, yours too. Wow. And so,
And I went there with you.
and you were with us.
I remember.
Hey, now I remember. So we went a couple times, and the second time she came with us. And wasn't Diane with us too? I'm getting confused now.
I forget
confused
who was
too.
with us, but
Yeah.
Andy? No, I can't remember.
Okay. So we went in the church, and we stayed overnight at the Pilgrim House, and that didn't cost as much, and stayed there, and then you could eat right next door to it. And, but there's a lot of commercial sales. See, the road comes in, the church is here, but when you go past it, they get all kinds of commercial sales, which kind of
Mars,
the
whole.
revenue. But you got to get used to it because they own that, and so you just stick around the church, and
You kind of spoiled it, but
And it's along a river. There's a river right there.
yeah, the river's over here, and I think you can see it. You're back from it, but. So then they said that there was some falls nearby. And I used to know the name of it. Interesting falls. So you park your car and you go up like this, and here's the falls right beside you. And so I went up to here and watched it fall. It's a beautiful sight,
Oh, I walked up those stairs. It's a long way up.
Yeah,
I
you
remember the
remember that?
stairwells. Stairwell.
Yeah. Okay, well, take over because
No,
I can't remember the rest.
but I don't know if I was actually with you, actually. I might have gone up with Gary long ago.
And Quebec is an interesting city. So I went into the Hotel Frontenac, which is their big hotel right on the river. And you ought to see it sticks way up. And so
beautiful place.
I wanted to know how much it cost for overnight. So I went in the lobby and I asked the guy, how much overnight? 150 just overnight, something like of that, around that expense. And but a beautiful building, and it was old, but very nice. And then we went to the Plains of Abraham, which is right next to the Hotel Frontenac. And it goes up, and they had a battle there.
Who did? Remember?
During the Revolution, we fought them. Well, here's the river. There's a big cliff here, 200 feet high, and it goes down like that, and here's where that church is, and all the houses. But you have to go up that. That's called the Plains of Abraham, but it's not a plain, it's a hill. And when you get up the top, I was looking down. Oh boy, the rowboats look like little toys down there. And I was glad, because they had a horse and carriage to take you up if you want for visitors, see. And but we didn't take the horse and carriage
No.
up. I drove up bravely, and
I remember that.
yeah, so that was cute.
That was pretty.
So then I found out that there was a boat that goes to Montreal. And so we followed the river. We didn't get on the boat. We followed the river down to Cap de Madeleine, and that's Cape Madeleine.
Okay,
And we were told that there was an interesting church there. So we stopped there and went to that church. and it's all made of cement, but well done inside. And we made a visit, and then got in the car and continued down to Montreal. And
The Cape de Madeleine's still there, and
yeah, I still remember. Yeah, well, that was our
Church.
visitors. So, yeah.
it's like Saint Anne de Beaupré, only, well, a little different, but same idea.
So when we got to Montreal on one of the trips, I didn't know where the hill was. You know, the top of the hill, St. Joseph's Oratory. Yeah, it's a hill, and there's a beautiful church on the top, and she's seen it. And as we were approaching, I didn't know where it was, and all of a sudden the sun came out, and I could see the dome right there. And it was like, angels.
Showing us the way.
Showing.
Yeah.
So I just said, okay, I'm going to aim for that dome. So I had to go up streets that had one ways and everything else. I'm still getting closer.
Finally,
Oh,
we
God.
finally got there. That was nice.
Complicated too.
And the Pope had just visited the place before that, lately. And so I went into the same room, and sure enough, there's more crutches hanging around. And that was interesting. So then we stayed overnight at the Pilgrim House. Okay. And, then we came home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, hey, it's
And did you go to
I didn't go to my,
Nova Scotia
uh,
as well?
Yep,
yeah,
Wow.
we did.
yeah, and
We didn't go to my mother's place because it was way over on the back side of there.
Prince Edward.
Prince Edward
Yeah.
Island. If it had been on the side that we were on, we probably would have gone.
Isn't it Susie, name of it?
Little Susie.
Little town, Susie.
So I didn't think it was worth it. Just
So-
we didn't really know where we were going.
So here's the island, okay? And you go on a ferry from Gaspé, on a ferry like this, and then the road follows this, and then you get on the ferry and went out. But the island's this big, and Susie was way over here, so we decided not to go all the way. But that was cute. We're going this way. We got on another ferry, and it takes you to Quebec.
My sisters were mad because I didn't go see Mama's homeland. Because you got all the way up there and you didn't go see it. They didn't have any idea where it was and how far it was.
I
How
wasn't
high
sure.
it was.
I wasn't sure there was an emblem marking it.
Yeah, we don't know. So that was the end of that, but we did enjoy the trip.
That was where your mother was from originally?
Yeah, her family.
The main thrust of why I was willing to do this was the three saints that we pursued until we found them. It was interesting.
How long did that take?
Good question.
We started from was it Waltham? Went down to Hartford, and then across, and took that road down to New York City. And I started early in the morning on a Sunday morning, hoping I'd get there for the 11 o'clock mass. I'm guessing, So we started out real early, and that's how it happened. That we parked the car, went in, and it was just starting mass. So that was
What
really
happened?
tremendous. And so now, okay, so that was one Sunday, and
But you did all three over a number of years?
no, I think it was all in one, a couple of months period, right?
Yeah.
We did them all because we were hot on it. We had just read about them, and I was trying to remember.
How old were you at the time?
Oh, so in 1991, subtract 26 from 91, and see, 26 from 91.
I can't do it.
That's 75 or 65.
We're 65. We wouldn't have gone down there. We're 75. Being 75.
Oh yeah, see, and I had just retired.
Just retired.
And
Yeah.
that would be 65.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my sister Norma lived down in Maryland and near Norfolk, Virginia. And so she said we could come down, and of course we wanted to visit her, and we stayed overnight. And then we saw that you could see that the Golden Triangle is Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Gettysburg. And they're all within a triangle like this. And we always wanted to see it, see? So we left Norma's and went to Williamsburg, and it was cute. That was donated by Rockefeller Jr., and he fixed it all up to look like the 1700s.
Yeah. It was lovely.
Horse and carriages and to
Whole-
build it, but
whole
everything
town.
was nice.
Yeah.
Did you see it, Williamsburg?
No, but I'd love to go.
Yeah. You'd like it.
And then you have, then we like Jamestown. Jamestown's a little river coming in, and this was more like it was.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't change it like the other one.
Yeah, and
But it was sweet. It was very nice.
Authentic to the times.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't make any big changes that I remember.
did they show a movie?
Yeah, they
Some of
must
them they show you a movie before you start,
Yeah.
so you know what you're
where
seeing.
you're going and what you're going to, what you should see.
And then we went to Gettysburg, where we won the Revolutionary War, and it showed this crooked fence like that. And all they do is tell you this is Gettysburg, where they had the fight. And all I could see was just, you know how they made tents zigzag to hold them up? And that was there. And that's the end of our trip. We're back to Norma's. And
That was sad though. I remember I cried at that place. No. Why did I cry? Must have been telling about. Saw the movie, and they were telling about how, you know, all the soldiers died and practically wiped out and all that stuff. And I wasn't quite ready for it or something, and I ended up
Well, I
crying.
don't blame you. Yeah, I do
sad.
it all the time.
I know.
But
I don't ever cry like that.
yeah,
And I did that time.
she's stoic. You're stoic.
I cried when I went there. It's pretty intense.
Oh, what did you see?
I went to Gettysburg
Oh, you did?
right after Diane's wedding.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. And you saw these
I
fences?
went with Danny, brother Danny.
Oh, you did?
We toured the park.
Oh, wow.
Go see that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't tour it. We just saw that fence and reminisced. But so then, on one of our trips, we wanted to go to the Hershey Company in Pennsylvania. Get a Hershey bar free. That's what I was looking for. So,
Oh, this was
So-
funny.
but the whole thing is that there's a little town, I'm trying to think, just before you get to the Hershey Company, and that it gives you a meal, all you can eat, but $25 a piece. But we had to see it, but I can't think of the name, it was very important. So we went there, and there was people from all walks of life around this big long table. And these waitresses came in, and there was like 3 or 4 pies and all kinds of stuff. And all I could eat is a little bit, you know, out of this great big table. But it was fun. And,
They talked with other people that were visiting there.
Yeah,
you know.
visiting.
It was interesting.
yeah, Lancaster,
Lancaster.
Pennsylvania. And
The special people that lived there. Lancaster.
okay,
Quakers?
The beginning of that story is we went out to see Johnny at Columbus, Ohio. He was going to school there. So we went out, remember, after we saw your sister, then we went to see Johnny into Columbus. And from there to Norman, so we had to go south out of Ohio. It was Columbus, Ohio. South out of Ohio, and we hit Kentucky. Went through a little bit of Kentucky, and a lot of trees and everything all over the
Beautiful
place.
down
Curves right through, and then we come into the backside of what's that state?
there. Who's in it?
The tomb of Robert E. Lee is in it, and also Stonewall Jackson. And Monticello's in it too. Virginia. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. And so come into Virginia, and that's why when we kept going to see Norma. See? But that was some trip. You go to Monticello, you know. He invented a lot of things that are in that. Did you see Monticello?
No.
Oh,
And,
that's a very nice
It
place.
was Jefferson was a smart cookie,
Wow.
and
Was it beautiful
it was great to.
landscape?
Of course,
It was
he
great
had
to see it.
He had slaves. I kind of always held it against him for. That's why he could do so much, and everything was rosy because they had a lot of slaves, but they were kind to them. They weren't the type
Yeah.
that hurt them.
Yeah, and we
Punish
saw where they had their housing,
Yeah,
right?
their housing
And
was,
it wasn't as bad
as you think it would be.
so that was an interesting trip.
Did you get a chance to go drive through the, I think it's called the Blue Ridge Mountain Range?
Poconos.
Blue Ridge or something?
I think it's the Blue Ridge. The Poconos is in Pennsylvania, I believe. We
Yeah.
went through that too.
There.
Yeah.
Well,
And it was a storm,
the-
rainstorm, in the middle of the Poconos. And I remember. And this was part when we were on our way to see Brother Rock.
Yeah.
You went to see Brother Rock?
Yeah, we went to his monastery,
Oh,
Yeah.
as I told you, yeah. So that was another trip we took of going to see Johnny and so forth. So unless I think of another one, we had a lot of
That's a
interesting places.
driving.
Yeah,
That's
we did an
nice.
awful lot of
Lots
driving.
That's a great trip.
Yeah.
And we never had a good car. I mean, it wasn't a big, brand new car or anything. But for some reason, God was with us. As long as we put the gas in, we're all set. Now, I don't think we even had flat tires, did we?
I don't know.
No?
I don't remember a flat tire.
It was like a
But,
God sent, you know.
but I was at the age where I liked to drive. It didn't bother me a bit. I really enjoyed it.
He's the
Yes.
best driver in the world was Dick. He always
Thank you.
He's always conscious of everything and careful of everything, and never goes too fast, never goes too slow. Just right.
Wow, isn't that nice?
That's why we never had any accidents
Yeah. Thank you.
until you bump that leg.
Hey, wait a minute.
What? He backed up one time in a church parking lot and hit a lady's car.
Oh, but
Just
that was
nicked
just
it.
lately.
Yeah, I know, but still, you got to say, of all the years, you never had an accident. That was the accident.
I waited till they all cleared the parking lot, and I said, "Okay, now I can go."
See, he's
but
nice
there's a
and
few
careful.
left, and so I backed up, and I'm looking, and I couldn't see her. She had one of those low cars, you know, and I'm looking out the window like this. No, nobody there. And then, but I hit it real soft, thank goodness, and just put a little dimple in,
Yeah, a dimple in the car.
just below the light, a little dimple. Okay, so I had to stop, and Dave, my friend Dave, comes out and he says, "Well, you have to call the police and tell them about the
I said, but
accident."
they didn't do anything. And well, it doesn't matter. she's
And I said, who owns the car? And it was the head of the choir in,
The
in
church.
there. She's a lady, Alice, Mary Alice too.
Mary Alice, yeah.
And she's tall, you know. So we were going to tell her that we hit a car, you know. She comes out, I just got that car. It was a second-hand one.
But she
So-
was very sweet about
But
it.
she was very nice about it. And I told the cop, and all of a sudden a cop comes up and he takes down the whole thing. And then I told him what my insurance was. We called it the insurance. I forget if he did or I did. And they took care of the whole thing, and she didn't get it fixed. She took the money instead.
I don't blame her.
Because the dent was so trivial.
It's just like a little dimple.
We had to go through all that.
She's not from the church.
That was a story I wasn't going to tell.
Mom left the cat on the bed.
That's right.
Oh,
Did
like
you,
my-
did you go to Europe or travel out of the country?
No, only when I was in the Army. But not with mine, you know. Is that what your question? Yeah. And yeah, I wouldn't have seen France, Germany, and all that without the Army. And riding a big boat, a boat, small for that ocean, I'll tell you. But
How big?
I think it was 200 feet long, as I recall, and it was like what they call a Liberty ship. They made a lot of them at that time to cover the bringing cargo and everything. And so we had a lot of troops, the whole place. And the bunks were 3 high, you know. Boom, 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 boom. And I remember, I think I was in the bottom bunk, and here's this thing going like this. And, oh, God. And I couldn't eat. I was only there 12 days. The first 7 days, I couldn't eat hardly. And my stomach felt lousy, but I never upkeep. And I had a headache for those 7 days. Then all of a sudden, everything felt good. And they said, oh, you got your sea legs. That's what they said. And I felt okay, but I was hungry. And so we landed at Le Havre in France. And if you look up France, there's a nice little bay there, Le Havre. And so we landed there, got off, and other troops that were there got on the boat to take them back to New York, see? And they had seen action, and we hadn't, see? So we were Army of Occupation, you might say. But here's these guys coming in that all saw action. And, okay, so we got off and we went to Camp Philip Morris. They named them after cigarettes. Yeah, yeah,
Philip Morris.
yeah. Camp Philip Morris, and I forget. Omaha Beach, of course, is after a state. But where I landed, there were several tents. It was a tent where they served you supper. Well, I went in there. They served fried chicken and everything. I was starved. I went right through it. Okay, you're supposed to take when you're through. Take the bones and everything and put them in a barrel outside the tent. So I'm walking out and putting the tent, and here's a woman with 2 or 3 of her kids looking through that stuff to get something to eat, and I didn't have a thing to give them. I hit everything, but couple of guys I saw gave them bones that they didn't eat, and with meat on it, you know. But hey, then I realized they're in tough shape. The average family, oh God. Yeah, and she's standing right there, and those kids are going through to see if they can get something to eat.
They still do that in some places.
So they put us on a train to take us to southern Germany, and we had to go through a bit of France. It took us 5 days. It went slow, right through towns, slowly, and you could see everything bombed out. Germany, you'd see these canals with the prow of ships up there where they're sunk, and every railroad track had a hole right in the middle. We did a number on them because they wouldn't surrender, see. And so they took us to the town Munich. That's where they let us off, at Munich. but it took us 4 days to get there. And so in Munich, there was a little airfield outside Munich called Fürstenfeldbruck. I remember the name of it. That was the name of it. And it had this little landing field. And so while I'm there was a mass. There was a mass right next door that a priest was saying every morning. So I was able to go to mass and every day. And so I drew a picture for his door. He had nothing on the door of the chapel. So I thought, gee, I'll draw a picture of a chalice. And one of the best jobs I ever did. I took my time and did that. And he put it on that door. And I give, and soon after that, I get news that we can go. There was a holy lady. She had the stigmata on her. And I think it was, her last name was Newman.
No, oh yeah.
And there were a busload that could go to see her, but I was too shy. I didn't want to get on the bus. And also I could have seen Dachau concentration camp, and I didn't want to go. Because, hey, I was only 18 years old, I was scared stiff, and I didn't want to go. So,
That would have been horror.
yeah, because I read about it afterwards in Sonnenberger. So, so then they took me up to Kitzingen Air Base, which is north of where I was. And we got off at that air base, and there's a little town there called Giebelstadt. And you ought to see a cute little town with these little Cape-style houses. And all the people were gone. Apparently we drove them out because we wanted the soldiers to take over the town. So I was in one of those little things. And now Sunday came along, I was going to go to Mass. So I found out there was a Mass in a little town, so I walked for about, probably a half mile to get in the town. Now, from the outside, it looks pretty old and dull. But then when you open the door, it's beautiful inside, because they put all their energy in the inside of the church. And so I heard Mass there in German, and I was surprised I was the only one of that whole bunch. I thought some other guy would come with me or something, but I was the only one. And so anyway, that was a little part that I don't forget, that little journey. And okay, so we went back, and then we all had to pile in again, and they took us to the Kitzingen Air Base, and that's where I stayed most of the time. And they put us in the barracks. The barracks were for the pilots, and the German pilots were given good stuff. They had nice rooms and everything. They're bare, but they're nice. And so while I'm in there, I see a piano crated down the hall. It was, they're all boxed in. And so I asked the lieutenant in charge, I says, can I bring that in my room? He said, yeah, if you can move it. So I got 11 guys to move that thing down the hall and into my room, and then take it apart, all the wood, brought the woods to the wooden place. And my roommate, which I didn't know, was a guy that played the guitar, and he was from Hawaii. Yeah, and he could play the guitar. And so I had the piano, and I says, hey, I need some chords or something. He says, well, here's A major. Bring. And so I went over and I, dung, 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 A major, and I wrote it in a book what those letters were, I put letters or numbers on every one, the scale only goes to 8, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And so I put numbers on them with a pencil because you can rub off pencil mark. And so when he hit A major. He hit A, C, and D, and I dung dung dung. So I wrote that down, and then you go to another one, A7. This was A7th, D7th, B7th, all that, and I wrote it. I had 113 chords all written down in this booklet, and that's how I started learning it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was interesting. This guy, it was interesting. And I wrote him when I got home, and I never got an answer from him. And I wonder what happened to him.
Heaven knows in those days.
Did you know how to play the piano before you went?
No,
You started then?
well, I took lessons when I was 6 years old for a year, so I could play my little song.
What was the name of that?
Sandman?
Summer's Made for Hiking. Remember? I can play it now.
Hiking, hiking, hiking. Da 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 da. Hiking. I've heard that for years
I've
and
played it for
years.
years.
Beautiful song.
Summer days are made for hiking. That was my. What do they do when you show off? The teacher was showing off her pupils.
You did?
That was his song.
Recital.
Recital.
Yeah. So I was one of the bunch in the recital. And,
Cute.
Well, I think that's.
but that really
Sufficient, don't
made
you?
the trip for me to have that piano for the last months of my stay there. And I also was a carpenter with my own little tent and hand tools. And all nice hand tools. And of course the only one I could do was hammer, nail, saw.
Screwdriver.
You played baseball over with the team
For that
over in Germany.
Germany, for that team, yeah. And we
Is
got
that
into
in Wurzburg? Wurzburg?
we went through Würzburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was all bombed out. And the story of that is, that the Germans were defending the Würzburg. And so they put up a white flag. And our guys started going over the bridge and they fired at them. They all retreated and called up the Air Force, and the Air Force came in and flattened that whole place. But they didn't hit the main administration building, which is a beautiful marble building. For some reason, maybe on purpose, they missed that nice building. And you ought to see the whole place is flattened. So when I was coming back from Würzburg one day, we took a trip up there, I see piles of bricks piled up, and the women are all out there collecting all the bricks that were boned, and they made nice little piles. The Germans were great, I noticed, industrious people. They cleaned it up, brooms and everything. And
Probably
it was
you
great.
plan on using it, building something else.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bet.
No, because they were beat.
Well, I know.
This was after
They must have had some help later on.
the war was over, when
Yeah.
when I saw all this stuff. And they told me about the Würzburg getting flattened, So
What was your job or your role?
I was the company carpenter. Our company was only about 120 guys in the company, and they had to go out and fill holes in runways. They were taking care of runways, but they needed also a plumber and a carpenter. And I had a year and a half of college. That was a big deal. And so the head one, which was just a sergeant, he never went to college, but he thought college, a year and a half? Okay, do you want to be a plumber or a carpenter? So I looked at both and I said, a carpenter.
I wish now he'd said plumber.
Yeah.
How long were you over in Germany till you came home?
Probably at least 9 months. I can't remember. And they said if I signed up, they'd get me out a year later. And son of a gun, they did, right on the day.
That's great.
Yeah. But it took a while. I had to go to New Jersey, stayed in a camp there, and then get on the ship, and then go to Le Havre, I told you, and all that. So all that took time. And the thing I noticed in the fields, what's the name of that? Southern Germany. It's a nice place. You went to it.
There's a name for it.
Yeah.
Well, just southern Germany. It's good enough.
The romantic highway goes through the area, but there's a term for the southern Germany.
I usually know it. Can't think. So I remember Soren Woods. I had a little hut there, and I could see wild strawberries growing. You know, it's a pretty cute little place. I mean, it's a big place, and then we could go on the map and find out where. It's where Fürstenfeldbruck is. See if we can find it on the map.
I think that's enough.
So, when you came back, is that when you continued on to college? You ended up going to.
Yeah. I had to go up to Bremerhaven. You remember Bremerhaven? So I had to take a train north to Bremerhaven. That's where the ship was. And I had to wait for the ship. And I remember some of the chow lines were like a quarter mile long, and I was at the back end going in the chow line. I remember it seemed like a quarter mile. But on Thanksgiving Day of 1946, I was at Bremerhaven. And they fed the GIs good, you know, on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you'd have your mashed potatoes, your chicken, your vegetables, and then your dessert right on top.
And you ate them in that order too, huh?
And of course, I'm with these guys from Hawaii, right? A lot of them. And they served pineapple, upside down pineapple cake. And they didn't want it, sick of pineapple. They had it all their lives. So they gave me it. I had about half a dozen of those. And boy, I love them.
Yeah. Mom used to make upside down.
Yeah, I love that upside down cake.
Tell them that story you told me about. You were trying to. They wanted you to make maybe a window or something.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't know how.
So in that town of Gielstein, the medics had taken over one of those houses, you know, the little Cape houses. And that was where he put all his sick, when they had sick. And so the medic came down. He's usually a captain or more. And he comes down to see me. And he says, I want screens in all the windows of this Cape. And so I had to figure that out, and hey, that come out pretty good. It's when I got to the doorway is where I had trouble. I told you that story. Yeah. And
Tell them. Tell them the story.
you know that story? You know, I was stuck. It was all cement, and I'm supposed to put a door in, and I really didn't know how to do it at that time. And I got my sawhorse out there, and I got the lumber, and I'm looking at it. How the heck am I going to make a door? And this guy walks by with a red nose. I mean, he's a GI, but he never advanced because of his drinking problem. I assume, red nose, he only buck private. And he was out walking in his time off. And he comes back to me and he says, I know how to do that. He said, I know what you should do, is the way he put it. And I said, well, what is it? He says, well, you cut your studs just a little longer than that measurement, and then you force the stud in, right into that cement, and do it on both sides. Now you got something to nail to, he says. And yeah, he was a guardian angel, came out of with a red
Guardian
nose.
angel. You could save more time buying a guardian angel.
I kid you not. That was good.
And you did that?
Yeah,
And it worked.
yeah.
Awesome.
And
Many times you
the hardest,
tried to do that with building things with the kids. Oh, now wait a minute. So you gotta pound the, make it a little bit bigger, and then force it in there.
force it is.
You don't see Mike do that.
So I learned a lot from that guy. That way.
You're quite creative over the years, I remember, building things.
Yeah,
You
you always could build
made
some.
some kayaks for us.
I had about 4 of those
Those are awesome.
and two or three rowboats.
Oh, I love that robot.
Remember the wide one that didn't tip over?
That was my favorite.
Oh, I don't think I told him about Frodo.
Oh, tell
Yeah.
them the story about Frodo.
Yeah, that was Tommy's dog, Tommy and Lita. Dog, Frodo. Do you want me to continue or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here, all the kids are down, and Frodo goes out, oh no, it's September or so, and there's a ice freeze over the lake. All of a sudden, I'm eating breakfast with Richard Jr. We're eating cereal, and Richard looks up and says, "Hey, there's Frodo out in the ice." And I look, holy cats, and all of a sudden, Frodo falls in, the ice breaks, and he's in there probably, I'd say 40, a good 40 feet from shore. And he's like this in there, you know, and trying to stay afloat. So we all ran down, the kids all lined the shore, and
Screaming their head.
they wanted us to take a canoe, and I said, "No, sir, I'm not going to tip over in the canoe." So we got the big, heavy one, and Johnny and I lugged it way over here, and Johnny gets in it with a crowbar, and he puts the crowbar in the ice to push himself along, see? The ice was thick enough to hold that thing up. And he pushed himself out to Frodo and got him in the boat. But he's tired as hell.
Was he?
So I got this, I tied the rope around a board about this long and this wide and slid it on the ice all the way out. It worked, went all the way out to him. And he took that rope and he hung on, and all the kids pulled him in. Wasn't that a cracker?
Because John was so tired.
So I made, somebody picked up the dog and brought him out here, and I think Richard Jr. had the truck going to go up to Dr. Gross, because he's a veterinarian. And he's waiting there with the motor going and everything, and the kid brings up the dog, puts it in there, and he drives him up. Meanwhile, Johnny, I led him into the house, and I put him in our bed and tucked him in there. He was dead tired. And I was worried about him. He broke his neck to go
So
down.
stressful.
Yeah.
We're all screaming.
But see, it's the timing that impressed me. All the kids were there yelling, and helping here and helping there. And so when he got through, I wrote it up. I have the write-up, by the way, in there. And I asked him to say a few words for the write-up. And he says, I wish they'd stop yelling.
Yeah.
That was what he said.
The kids were so
Because
excited.
they're all yelling at him.
Screaming and do this and do that.
Oh, brother. But
I remember screaming at Frodo, "Come on, Frodo!"
Yeah, yeah,
He wanted
everybody.
to keep him wanting to come back up because he'd go down. And he'd stay down a few seconds and then we'd be like, oh. And then he'd come back up.
Yeah.
how did he do
So
it?
us kids were freaking out. We're watching a dog possibly drown.
Yeah.
That was-
That's right. And you were right there.
Oh yeah, all of them. were. Yeah.
John was second.
It's a wonder he didn't catch pneumonia. They were pretty cold. So
I was
that's
just stressed out over the years living on the lake with all the kids thinking that somebody might drown.
Oh, yeah. I was always
always in the
worried.
back of your head. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I was
I
counting.
try not to think too much because after a while it can
It's all right.
bug you. No, the good part of it overshadowed that little part that wasn't so nice.
How did did you come up with everyone's name? All the kids' names.
Well, we started with Joseph and Mary, which is, yeah, Joseph and Mary. We took them all out of saints. most
And
of them.
Paul.
Now, she was named after my sister Janet, but we made sure her middle name was St. Anne. See? And
But then after a while, it wasn't very hard. We couldn't decide on a name, you know. Well, I was talking to the doctor after I had, which one was it? Well, one of them. And
which one was it?
well, what are you going to call this one? And I said, I don't know. We can't think of a name we both like. And he says, well, why don't you try?
But we never accepted it.
Yeah.
What the interesting part is that my sisters named her eighth one, she had 10, after herself. And my, in our family, was named after my father. That was Arthur H. Blanchard. Junior is the 8th one. See, I was the 9th. They named the 8th one after him. Now in our house, we named the 8th one after me, and we never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? You know, we never thought of Yvonne.
Yeah, Richard.
Yeah, Arthur H. Blanchard. And who's the third? The third one that had the H. I lost it. Okay, Yvonne and
Arthur. Tommy, Thomas Arthur.
no,
Oh, that one.
no.
Well, anyway, it was.
Yeah, wait a minute. We named it after the parents.
Yeah. After a while.
Who had 10 people? That was Yvonne. She named her 8th after her, Yvonne. And I don't know what they call
So
it.
it'd be Richard would be in our family.
Yeah. So that's
Richard
what got
was
me
after
mixed up.
you.
It's her 8th one she named after herself, our 8th one after me, and my father's 8th one after him. And we never thought of that. Isn't that interesting? I asked him, did you ever think of that? No, sir.
What was a fun memory of all having alive children? What are your favorite things about
How many kids did you have?
13.
13.
Someone that didn't know.
See, there's Paul, Joe, Paul, Tom. This is the first three in that order. They're right up here. Joe, Paul, Tom. And then there's
Mary.
Johnny.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, you want them all in order. Mark can probably rattle them off better than I can. But Joe, Paul, Tom, Mary, Kathy, Johnny. There's 6 of them. And Janet, Richard, and Robert.
Robert. And then,
Janet, Richard, and Robert.
and then Michael.
There's 9.
Michael. Andy. Danny.
Michael,
and Diane.
Andy, Danny, and then Diane is at the end, 13.
A Baker's dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Baker's dozen. Yeah.
And boy, relieved to finally get another girl. So
Yep.
many.
I know.
And okay, you got all their names, and we try to have all their names after saints. Now Robert is after Saint Robert Bellarmine. And if you look it up, he was quite a
He's
saint.
quite a character.
Yeah, he was no character. He was great, and he if you look up Saint Bellarmine, he's very. He used to give talks on Holy Scriptures, and a real smart guy.
That cookie.
And so when I told Robert who he was named after, Robert felt good. Robert Bellarmine.
So
And, So let's see. Johnny was born on February 12th,
Yeah.
and my mother said, "Hey, why don't you name him Johnny Lincoln?" And so we did. That's
Thought
the
that
name.
was pretty clever.
My mother would come up with things like that. And
That's cute.
now, her daughter, Yvonne, was born on November 11th, 1918, the end of the World War I. So they were looking for a name for Yvonne, because she was born right around that, the day before. And he says, "How about Victory?" My mother says, "How about Victory?" And that's her name, Yvonne Victory Blanchett.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, cute, huh? She liked doing stuff like that.
And Mom, your mother's name,
Alice Priscilla.
Priscilla
Alice Priscilla.
Anderson.
And Mary was
Anderson.
named
Yeah,
after
Anderson.
Mary Alice. Yeah. And
And
but nobody else used Priscilla. That wasn't a very popular name.
And Frank, your dad's middle name,
Who's that?
and your grandpa, your father.
My father, Francis. Francis, just saw that this morning in that picture I was showing you, remember? Daddy's name,
Oh, yeah.
Francis.
That's right, because
Francis John Hyatt.
no, Joseph.
Joseph.
It was Francis
Francis
Joseph
Joseph
Hyatt.
Hyatt.
His first communion paper. They used to give it out with a holy picture on it.
Mm.
It has his name right down there and the date, and then it has confirmation date to the Lord.
But he never used his real name then because they always call him Frank after Francis.
But poor Frank, he couldn't keep it up, and I remember once asking him, "How about going to church, with us?" And he says, "I don't want to pay to get in." He said, "You don't pay to get in. You don't have to do anything. Just come." But he couldn't.
The best he
He
could think.
lost it that way. Okay, but when he was dying, he was on the bed dying, and I says, "Should I send for the priest?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And that gave us hope. I sent for the priest. He came down with his Jeep, didn't he?
Yeah.
With his Jeep. Went in there, talked to him, gave him the last sacrament.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've heard of the 11th hour. The 11th hour,
So no, that was him.
like in the vine, the people who work in the vine, they still got their penny. Just as well as the first guy that was picked to go work in the vineyard. And that is means that in the Catholic Church, you can come in at the last minute and you can make it.
A lot of people don't like that.
That's called the 11th hour. Well,
11th hour sin.
they don't look at it right.
Yeah, they don't get right.
So you were the one to call the priest for the last rites for your father and her father.
That's right. Good point to bring that up, yeah. And now, when Norma was dying down in Virginia, she was living with her husband's son. Well, their son was a teacher, and she was living with them. And when she was dying, I gave a call to Grace McDonald. That was the lady she was with. And I says, did she get the last sacrament? And she says, yes. She had the last sacrament.
That's so nice.
And
And Aunt Marjorie too, you were right there.
Not Margie, too.
and then Uncle Don went to Portland when he was dying. And so I called up the head nurse and I said, did he get his last sacraments? Because I think he was in a Catholic
Hospital,
place.
huh?
And she says, yes. So that's something that you can, if somebody's dying, remind them or ask
Yeah.
or something.
Why is it so important?
Well, you get the grace of the last sacrament. I mean, you could be the difference between going to heaven and not going to heaven. What's the matter? Telephone?
No, he's looking for a paper. I think you wrote something on it.
You've always had this in the
Oh,
house.
yeah, I wrote that, I don't know, a year ago or something. Don't forget, your number one goal is heaven. Because you don't want to go through all this and then don't make it.
Just in case you forgot.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, you also had a lot of great reminders around the house.
What do you feel your purpose in life was, both of you?
Just to bring up those kids, that's all.
Kids,
Mine.
and if they, of course, we pray for them all the time. If they don't do it now, maybe they'll do it later. You know, because that was a parable, you know, that our Lord told about the vineyard. Yeah, he says he was telling the apostles. He told them in parables, and he said in this one, he says a man owned a big vineyard, and the guys were outside waiting to get in, and they had to go through him, and he'd sign them off, and he said for a penny a day, and of course early in the morning there's a big line there, but towards around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a couple of other guys come up. At least one anyway, and he wanted a job too, and he says, "How much you gonna pay him?" You know, he says, "A penny, same as the others." And of course, the others grumbled a bit, but it's not because that was a true parallel, but he paralleled the church. In other words, at the last minute, if you say your prayers and ask God's forgiveness, He's so forgiving. That he'll do that and probably give you the grace to get the last sacraments, or just to say the act of contrition. You know?
Yeah, you're sorry. You have to say
That you're sorry. You know, if they don't know it, it's just say that you're sorry for what I did. You're gonna mean it. That's all. And so that's where that comes from. Everything our Lord said has meaning. The church grabs that meaning right off. Yeah. And it's amazing. He covers every aspect of life, our Lord, in those 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
And when you write your goal is heaven, so what are the things to do to get to heaven?
They said, you would do not realize what is waiting for those who love me. That's what he said. And so the apostle said, what do you mean? What do we do to make you know that we love you? He says, keep my commandments. That was his answer. Yeah.
The commandments are the 10 commandments.
It's an act of will, and you will, you want to do it, you want to please God, and it's an act of will. And but that was his answer. Of course, he also told his church, the Catholic Church, whatever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven by the Catholic Church. See? And so the Catholic Church has the right to make they made 6 commandments of the church. One is to go to Mass on Sundays and holy days of obligation. Another one's to fast and abstain on the days appointed. And don't marry within the 4th degree of kindred. You're not supposed to marry anybody that's within the 4th degree of kindred. And I forget the last one. And the last one is to receive communion once a year and go to confession once a year. You have to go, but if you're not in the state of mortal sin, you don't have to go to confession. You know, if if you go to communion and you have venial sins, communion
Yeah.
remits them, yeah, forgives them. Communion is that powerful, you know, will forgive venial sin. But mortal sin, you have to confess in the confessional, where the priest is Christ in that minute. And he absolves you in the name of Christ, the second person of the Blessed Trinity. You know, he's God. And so he gave the church the right to make what I just told you, those church commandments. So there's 10 commandments of God, 6 commandments of the church.
If you do those all, you're in
Yeah.
pretty good shape.
And sure enough, if you marry within those 4 years of kindred, or degrees of kindred, if I've got it right, it's 3 or 4, you could have a baby that's malformed and everything else. And they found out this out. The surgeons found out that this is true, what he said. You know.
What does that mean, kindred?
Cousin. You can't marry a cousin, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, but then you can marry him. You know, if I've got it correct.
It's sort of
Yeah.
like to clear the blood for all those
Yeah.
families in the families.
And sure enough, they found out, right, through science, that sure enough, if you marry within there, you're taking a chance of a kid
lot
having
of
something
the-
wrong with him.
Didn't the English people, they didn't pay any attention to that rule, and they were marrying their own brother or something like that, you know. And they had idiots for children. And so they,
Yeah, some of those kings had
yeah, the kings
real
were,
rough children. You know.
and I imagine a
kinds of
lot of people
diseases.
did, not just them, but a lot of people did. But nobody would notice it for just the regular people. But when the king's kids were like that, they knew there was something wrong, and that's what they found out. So,
But when I was in school, we had to take the catechism, learn the catechism, and the catechism goes right down through all these things in detail. And each commandment has side issues. For example, thou shalt not kill, but that is also thou shalt not get drunk. Thou shalt not hate, because they all lead to killing, see. They could lead to killing. So, let's see, for example, the second is thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And there's a lot of people that use our Lord's name all the time because they get in a habit. You can get in a habit of doing it. And but then the priest will tell you if you go to confession that did you know what you were doing at the time? And no, Father, it just came out. And he says, well, that's a venial sin.
yeah.
If you know what you're doing, you do it anyway, then it gets more serious. And that's for all of them, all 10 of them. So they all have these side collateral things off of each one that you got to be careful of. And then if you do all those things right and get the graces and everything else, you have a chance of being a saint. You see what I mean? Yeah. But the average Catholic, to stay in the state of grace, you've got to do the sacraments. You know, there's 7 sacraments, and all our kids had 5 of the 7 sacraments, and that's what we made sure they all had: baptism, penance, Holy Eucharist, confirmation, and then if you get married, you get a 5th. The next one's holy orders to be a priest, and the last one is if you're dying. So I made sure everybody had those 4. And if you get married, you got 5. See? And that was my goal for the kids.
Why do you think is marriage a sacrament?
Because our Lord said so. They all come from Christ, you know. And here's what happened. He was invited to the marriage feast of Cana, him and the Blessed Mother. And they sat there down with all the other people that were invited. And so they had heard about Christ, you know. And the head waiter comes over and tells the Blessed Mother that they're out of wine. And so she sends the waiter to Christ and says, do whatever he tells you, to the waiter, you know, the head waiter. And so he says, fill these barrels with water and
To the brim.
to the brim, yeah. And so he filled the brim, and then he tasted it, and he says, most people have the worst wine first, but the worst wine last, but you've gotten the best wine last. And that was his answer. So in other words, he performed a miracle at Cana, his first miracle, and that was at a marriage. So that gave the church saying he blessed that marriage by performing a miracle at that marriage. Now the church may have better answers than I can give you, but that was one of the biggies. Yeah.
What's the difference between just being a Christian versus a Catholic?
Oh, because the Catholic has all the moral laws, and just being a Christian, like Protestants, they have some of it, but they don't have it all. For example, if you ask a Protestant, for example, what they said at the Nativity, you know, we say, what did the angels say at Nativity? It was a good example of that. Peace on earth. Yeah, peace on earth. We say peace on earth to men of goodwill. We see that's the exact translation. They said peace on earth, goodwill to men. See, they change it a bit. They change they don't have Holy Communion. It's a symbol as far as they're concerned. But we have the real thing. Everything we have is, the whole moral law is contained in the Catholic Church. All the others have some truth, but they don't have it all. But they can be called, they believe in Christ, though, you know, but they don't believe everything that he says. The church is. In fact, there's a lot of things the church believes because of Christ that some non-Catholics, they don't like that, you know, to have to obey some rules, you know, and
Well,
even their Bible.
Yeah, I think that's where they get that, the name of one of the churches is Christ Church. I mean, you know, that's saying it as if
they had it, but
they had it, but they don't.
they don't believe all of it, yeah.
No, just, they took the name, but they don't do it.
See, they don't believe in confession. The communion is just a symbol, and but they believe in Christ, you know, because he came on earth and he was born in a stable and everything. But they don't have it all, and that's what the difference is. They can be called Christians.
I like this one.
Oh yeah. I got this from my brother Rock, the monk. When I was in the army, he sent me this in a small sheet. I put it in my wallet. You got to trust Christ. If you believe in him, trust him when dark doubts assail you. And then trust him simply, and simply trust him is the hardest thing of all. That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. So I ought to show Marjorie, so I wrote it big so she could read it out of her peripheral vision. And
Margie liked that.
yeah, she liked all that stuff. And let me show you at the end of it. She liked Proverbs. So I'd read the first part and you have to answer it. You want to see how far you can go?
Yeah. We used to have fun at the nursing home doing that.
Gee, I don't know if I can see this good enough. Don't bite the hand that... Hey, she got the first one right.
That was an easy one.
Don't cut off your nose to spite your...
Face.
You're judged by the company.
Keep.
Don't rob Peter to pay.
Paw.
Hey, what you got? Some kind of a genius here? Yeah. And she used to love this. I'd read these and she'd wrap them off here
Yeah.
and she'd feel good about it. We either have a feast or a...
Famine?
Yeah. Now, no deposit, no return.
Ah.
You take a bottle in, if you haven't deposited a nickel for it, you don't get it back.
Monkey see, monkey.
Do.
Love is
Kind.
blind.
Blind.
Love is blind. Except in my case. Actions speak.
Louder than words.
Okay.
Good.
I don't want me to miss you, but I'm gonna throw a good one at you. Yeah. Okay, pride precedes.
I don't know that one.
Pride precedes the fall. Yeah. And it's just like the Titanic. They're pride unsinkable. See, so go up, go see the glaciers.
Yeah, both
So
how big it was.
that's pride, and sure enough, they fell. And it happens a lot of times. If you don't, you gotta thank God for what you got. Don't.
That's
You
good.
didn't do it.
Yeah,
Actually,
you didn't do it.
no, actually, it's a good one, but
So it's a good
I
one.
like that.
yeah,
Uh,
pride precedes fall.
absence makes the heart. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, fonder. Yeah.
Actions speak louder.
And words.
Hey, you got one.
Here's one here, but I don't know if anybody knows. The price of virtue is a hell of a lot less than the price of sin. See, in other words, you want to live you have to live a virtuous life, you pay a price.
But it's less
But
than
it's
the
less
price of
Then
sin.
sin.
Ooh, I like that.
And so you gotta keep that in mind when you have to like refuse something that's sinful or something, you know. Sure, you pay a price, but it's and so forth.
I like that.
Now, prayer can move
Mountain?
mountains. These are the Proverbs. And love conquers
Oh.
Hey.
Nice.
an apple a day.
Keeps the doctor away.
An onion a day.
Keeps everybody away.
Is
Right.
that what it is?
My mother, she always comes up with that. Now, there's a saying, no cross, no crown. In other words, you have to suffer to get the crown. You suffer in this world by obeying the commandments and all that to get a crown in heaven. See, that's no cross, no crown. Okay. Here, this is a good one. 2 thieves died on the cross. One was saved, lest we despair. And only one, lest we presume. You gotta think that
Figure
one
that
out.
one out.
two thieves died on the cross. One was saved, so you shouldn't despair. Our Lord said he was saying, I'll see you today in my kingdom. But the other one was snarled and said, hey, if you're the God, get us out of here. You know, get yourself out. Okay, he says, so one was saved, lest we despair, but only one was saved, lest we presume. Presume is pride. I presume, you know, I'm going to make it, all this stuff, without doing it. I thought that was a good line, but I had to think about it
Very hard.
a long time to go together.
Yeah. Complicated.
Blood is thicker.
Then,
Blood is thicker than water. All's well that ends
Wow.
well.
yeah.
Pride precedes.
The fall.
You're checking you out on that. Look at, there's a lot of them I just read through them. And okay,
Imagine you'd whip those right off after a while. Yeah.
familiarity breeds.
Contempt.
Hey, a bird in hand is worth two. A bird in hand is worth two in the
Bush.
bush.
In the bush.
A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Yeah, there's two in the bush. You think you got them? No, you haven't got them yet. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. A stitch in time saves
9.
9. And
What's that mean now? Stick.
do a stitch when you see a little
That's right.
hole, or
Little
else it'll get bigger and you have to do 9
There
stitches.
was a big rip there.
And then you apply that to life. I don't know how to do that.
Oh,
Take care of problems.
yeah, take care of your
As
problems and you're
opposed to
going to have
moving
some
off
more.
and it gets worse.
Definitely.
All that glitters is not
Gold.
right.
Right,
Waste not, want.
right,
Don't count your chickens before they
right.
hatch. Don't cross your bridges before you get
To the other
to
side.
them. Don't cross your bridges before you get to
Get
them.
to
Don't cry over spilt.
Milk.
They got it. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Don't spank them, they're
Of course, I
going to
don't hit a
spoil them.
rod, but I mean,
That's what I always used.
what do you say? I missed.
I always spanked them, so I would spoil the child.
Did you use a hairbrush or your hand?
My hand.
Yeah, right on the butt, right?
Yeah, right on the bottom.
Still waters run
Deep.
deep. That's a good one, you know. You see a guy in the corner and he's not saying anything. Well, then you find out that he's thinking deeply of something, maybe.
Could be, you know. They say, oh, I never thought he'd do that. You know?
Silence is
Golden.
Virtue.
good, you got it. Speech is silver.
That speech is silver.
He who laughs last laughs. Hey, what's the matter?
Least. It will laugh.
Last
Last.
best.
Oh, last best.
Yeah.
I said least.
He who laughs last laughs best. In other words,
Meaning, don't be the first guy to laugh at everyone.
Last.
yeah, well, you have to think that one over a little bit.
Best.
Do you know the golden rule?
Do unto others as you
Have
would have done.
Unto you.
do unto you. That's right. My mother always said this: obedience to laws is liberty.
Hmm.
And
Yes, well, you got freedom.
two is company, three's
Crowd, yeah.
the best things in life are
Right.
three. Best things come in small Packages. Like your package came. I said, hey, that must be something. A little package. Every good deed deserves
Fudge.
another.
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 Deserves what?
It's every good
Sorry.
boy deserves fudge.
Smile and the world smiles with you. Cry and you cry
Alone.
alone.
Must be all of them.
That's what that page. Oh boy.
Where did you get all these?
I wrote them all out once.
Did you
And
collect
I-
them over the years?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, over the years.
look before you
Touch.
Leap.
leap. Look before you leap. Patience is a
Virtue?
Right.
necessity is the mother of invention.
Invention.
If you need something, well, you invent stuff fast.
That's a good one for him. I would invent it.
Yeah.
Invent something.
He who hesitates is
Lost.
lost. That's the word. Look before you
We said that.
leap. I've already said that. There are no atheists in
Foxholes.
foxholes.
Oh,
Isn't that a good one?
Good
Yeah.
wall.
You know what foxholes are? And you go up the front, and when they're bombarding, everybody's saying their prayers. And there's no atheists in foxholes. I tell you.
Well, if they get the foxhole, if they dig a hole, that's where the foxhole comes from. Right? He's like a fox. Getting in there.
Oh yeah.
Getting in out of the
They
way.
dive in it.
He dived right in.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Handsome is as handsome does. You get that from mine.
I would tell her.
I've heard all these.
Experience is the best
Lesson.
teacher. The best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. Honesty is the best
Policy.
policy. Beggars can't be
Choosers.
all things come to those who
Wait.
wait. You get that? Wait. You reap what you. All
So,
right. Beauty is only skin.
Deep.
It says, our Lord said,
they already have that sign up in Hollywood. For all the Hollywood stars. There's only skin deep.
What a good reminder, Mom.
here's one that Christ told Saint before he became a saint. He saw it in the hall. And, St. Francis Xavier, I think it was. He was in the hall of a school, and it says, and I think St. Ignatius got this from Christ, and he said, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world if he loses his soul? And that's, I always think of that, that's why I wrote that. Huh? And when the going gets tough,
Get going.
get going. Yeah, that's a good one. Huh?
I like that one.
The devil finds work for idle
Right.
things to do. Some people are penny wise and dollar foolish. Men will work from dawn to sun, but woman's work
Never ends.
is never done. You're not gonna rhyme. It's never done. Like father, like
Son.
everything comes to an
And
end. Yeah. All is well that ends well. Too many cooks spoil
Broth.
spoil the broth.
I tell Mary.
One rotten apple spoils
The barrel.
the bunch. Yeah.
Just one bad apple in it, the whole Whitley barrel can rot the whole thing.
Holy moly. Let's see.
Number 2 down. I think they're all repeats, aren't they, Daddy?
Wait a minute now.
I think so.
I'll find one. Barking dogs seldom.
Bite. I don't know if that's true. Back in
It says seldom. It doesn't say never.
Yeah, all right. You can have that one then.
And who's the guy from Philadelphia that was in the Revolutionary War? And he wrote papers. He wrote newspapers. A guy from
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. He wrote newspapers. He's smart as a son of a gun. He went to France to see if he could get some money for the revolution.
Oh, yeah.
And his name was,
Yeah.
and I ain't telling you.
We all know it.
You know, because he's looking us up. This is pretty good, these guys.
Was he French? Was he a French man?
No, well, I don't want to give you any more hints because,
Why not?
well, because they're looking it up in this thing. And he went to France to see if he could get some more money, and they liked his story. And he discovered the Gulf Stream on the way.
Yeah. He was a very good American. Gee, I never think I'd forget that name.
Oh, did you come out with something?
Why can't you open
What did he do exactly?
He ran a newspaper in Philadelphia, and he was a member of the 13 colonies. You know, one of the
Yeah.
big wheels.
He was a
in
big
the
wheel
board.
in the colonies.
And he went to France once to get some money from him, and he discovered the Gulf Stream on the way because he invented 1,000 things. I said.
Benjamin Franklin?
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, that's I knew we knew it.
Yeah. And
Ben Franklin.
and he's the one that said, "A penny saved is a penny earned." He says, "Curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction brought him back." I didn't ask that because I figured maybe he didn't know that. I had to remember.
That is
Yeah. Some people are a wolf in sheep's.
Clothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. A street angel can be a house.
devil.
Yeah. The ones I'm skipping, I've already asked, you see. The quiet before the storm. You can't teach an old dog.
New tricks.
We said, too soon old, too late.
Smart.
Too soon old or too late smart. I can vouch for that.
We've used that a lot.
Can't
You feel dumb, just too late smart.
It says, those who ignore history are destined
Repeat it. it.
To reveal it, beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't that true, huh? This is one that we found that Johnny likes.
Johnny?
Yeah. And I think it was said by some smart guy, and I can't think of his name. There are 2 times when you should not speculate. 1, when you can't afford it, and 2, when you can. You gotta take on that one.
That sounds like Johnny.
Oh, God. I think I missed one up here. No, I think we got them all. Okay, next page.
Last page, hooray.
Yes, I probably said them before, so. All that glitters is not
Gold.
okay. It's better to lose than not to. It's better to lose than not to
Have tried.
tried at all. He who laughs last laughs best, right? You get that one. Charity begins at home.
Who begins at home?
Charity. Charity begins
yeah.
at home.
Okay, yeah.
Haste makes
Waste.
waste. Marry in haste, repent
In leisure.
at leisure. If at first you don't succeed,
Try again.
then try again. The early bird catches
The
the
worm.
worm. It says only late nighters see the stars. Maybe I should have put that one.
No.
Better safe than
Sorry.
better late than.
Never.
And we've come to the end of the story.
That's it. Good
Oh,
night.
yeah.
There's some lists, huh?
Those things, remember? Don't you worry about it?
Don't you worry about it.
And, I was doing it with a guy I work with, and he added some, and we were both
Can sign it?
adding stuff, and that's how
Yeah.
it's trying to get getting bigger and bigger.
What else did you say?
Can I ask you one more thing that we didn't really talk about? Can you do one more topic?
Sure.
Let me just slide you back up.
Oh,
There you go.
Mama, you want a drink of water?
Yeah.
you mean a continuation of the story?
I just had one more thing I wanted to ask.
Okay.
This way. Just about having so many kids. Did you plan to have 13 kids?
No planning.
No planning.
It was all God's will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because
I
had 2 miscarriages, so it's really more than
Yeah, she had
15 now.
Yeah. And I never the story about Andrew, did I? Andy?
Yeah, let Mom tell us.
Yeah.
She knows.
What was that?
Andy. The whole story
Oh,
about
yeah,
Andy.
yeah. Yeah, well,
It was,
I went to the doctor. I thought I was pregnant, but I wasn't sure. And usually I was sure. And he he gave me all kinds of tests, and one of them is they take some blood out of your ear, prick your ear or something. Yeah. And they listen to everything to see if they can hear anything or feel anything. And what was he said I was? He said I was pregnant.
But I didn't think he knew till after the operation. He had to operate to find out if she had Andy. It happened to be Andy.
Yeah. Thought I was pregnant. Thought I had cancer.
Oh, that's it.
Somebody in the office had just been in, and a woman like me, and had a lot of children, blah blah blah, and he said she was diagnosed with this stomach ailment. Say, well, I didn't have any of those symptoms. I didn't think anything was wrong, you know. So.
But he wasn't sure.
So he says, well, we'll take an X-ray, because that was it.
Yeah, but I think he operated and found the baby breathing.
Oh, yeah, well, he opened me up, right? Yes, he opened me up, and he could see the where's the baby in the,
Respiration
yeah, but I mean in the womb.
in the womb.
He saw the womb going up and down. He says, so that's a baby.
Yeah.
It was that
And he
close. So
says-
then he sewed me back up.
Now, wait a minute. While you were open, didn't he take your appendix out?
Well, yeah.
He took her
And that
appendix
was a
out
big
while
joke.
he had her open.
He
And then he
says,
sewed her up.
he says, because then you have to have an excuse for having an operation, and that would be it.
Was that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But hey, that was a close call. And look at little Andy.
Yeah, it could have been
And he was,
worse.
I call him a bonus child.
Is that bonus baby?
Boy, that was a close call. And look at how big
And
he
he
is.
knew, now he knew my stomach was going to be enlarged sooner, and it wouldn't be very strong, so he laced it up double. And which was good, because it didn't give me any trouble. And Andy was one of my biggest and the best.
Yeah, he was a cute little kid.
He was a good kid. So it was a good ending to a shaky story. You know.
But having another kid after another was just normal.
Just normal. Yep. I'm playing it.
Another thing, she was the 7th of 9, and I was the 9th of 9, so we were, you might say,
And all my
conditioned to a lot
And
of
all my
kids.
family had a lot of kids.
And Alma had 10
Alma
kids.
had 10
Your
kids.
sister.
And your sister had 10.
And see, so a lot of big families, and it probably put us in a mental state that was no.
And I remember the doctors saying, do you want a pill for this, or we can do something about that, you know, meaning an abortion. And I said, no way, nothing. Just
Good,
pregnant,
good for
that's
you.
it. So that's the way it ended.
Yeah. She stoically stayed right with it. And
And then to top it all off, because the last 5 or 6 were boys.
we had 5 boys in a
We had
row.
5 boys in a row, and then little Diane, another one was due, and then it was a girl, and they were going,
Yeah,
yay!
everybody was, yay! So she was
Celebrating.
welcomed into the fold, I'll tell you.
And she was a cutie.
And then when I had Joe, Paul, and Tom, then had Mary, we all went, yay!
Yay!
And then Kathy after Mary,
Because it was nice to have a little girl, sister for Mary.
and
That's the way it was. There was always some reason, you know. Then Johnny and I said, oh, well, I know all about boys. I like that.
now the
It gets sillier
Ja-
and sillier as you go along.
The Janet story is that she was very shy, always in the corner, you know, like this. And so when she started going to school, remember I told you, what's 2 times 3? And I had to repeat it many times, 6, 6, 6. What's 3 times 2? No. And so, hey, finally you got it. And then she took off.
Yeah, she's smart ever
And she got, really amazed me, the good mark she got.
Started as a dumb bunny.
But when you were a little kid.
I remember the flashcards. Math flashcards you would make up and
Yeah, flashcards, yeah.
flashcards and help me study every morning.
Oh,
Hold up the
flashcards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help me.
It does help, doesn't it? Yeah,
I made the house a learning place. Yeah, we had a blackboard, and I'd always put like all the capitals of the United States in alphabetical order, and so
We had
then
a
we
lot of games of playing
big games.
the games all the time. Who can name the New England states, and what are their capitals? And they other kids would come and they couldn't even name the states, let alone the capitals. I mean, that we could see that that's what was needed in the schools. They just weren't doing that at all. I don't know why.
But anyway, that was a lot of fun doing that. I'd make the house a learning place, you know.
Those are my fondest memories of our dinners around the table and you asking questions. And
Yeah.
answering. Learning
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
about everything. Geography, history.
It didn't go beyond what I knew, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Well,
oh yeah.
oh, God. So, but I liked, can you name all the states that begin, no, all the capitals that begin with H? I think it was capitals. I think there's 4,
About 4, yeah. See, that's
4, what are they?
I could start with Honolulu,
I think that's one.
Helena,
Helena, yeah.
Helena,
Hartford.
Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah, you remember?
yeah.
Because we lived near there at one time, and so I never forgot that.
Yeah, I can't remember
Is there another?
the next one. Maybe there's only 3. I know there was 5 beginning with A.
A.
Yeah.
Augusta, Austin,
Atlanta,
Annapolis.
Annapolis.
Annapolis, Maryland. I just gave one away.
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Georgia.
And was that 4?
Boston.
Austin.
Albuquerque.
No, that's not a capital.
Let's go down and see. I don't know if you got the 5 already.
Augusta?
Augusta.
Say that one?
Madagascar.
Oh, I know, New York.
Albany.
Albany.
That was
So
almost always
there's a
forgotten.
5. And they always get stuck on one of those.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
usually it's Annapolis they get stuck on. See, that's stuck on in Maryland, tucked right above Washington, is Annapolis.
Yeah, you never hear about it, you know,
Yeah.
when you're a kid, really.
That's where they make naval officers, is in Annapolis.
Now, Mom, I remember, was the queen of all the presidents.
Oh, yeah. I had memorized them all at one time.
She rattled those off,
Don't get up to them.
but due to lack of use,
Yeah. And now in my mind doesn't
can
connect.
you name the first 3?
Yeah. Oh, Georgie Wash, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and
Okay,
the next
so you named what, 6?
probably 6. Yeah. That was easy.
Was everybody into learning?
Yeah.
You didn't fight?
In different ways. You know, some would be very smart and know the answers, and others wouldn't. But they'd be good in something else. You know, so just because you couldn't remember the president didn't cross them off your list, you know.
Do you think that's why everybody's so creative?
Yeah.
Probably.
They have,
huh?
they
I
have,
wouldn't-
each have different,
See, my father was an inventor too. So, and then, so it's in our line there.
What did he invent?
He invented the booster pump for all fire equipment. You know, there's a certain truck that's got the water in a big tank in back. That's called a booster truck, and that's the first one to go to some fires because they got water right with them. See, in case they don't find water, they bring some with them. And he, I think, come up with that idea.
And
of
that's
putting a
especially
big
good-
tank in the back.
especially good for places like Maine where you're stretched way out and they don't have the
A pond, maybe.
pond. They might have a pond next door, but
I think he had something to do with it making a pond. They make a pond on the farm. Did you ever see a little pond in the middle of a farm? They dug that out. And that's for the case of fire. You can put the suction hose in there. And he also come up with signs on signposts. You know, he didn't get all these, what's that company you go through to get them in the books? In the book. Patent. Okay, he patented two things. The angle nozzle. You hold the nozzle like this, but it swivels like this. Because if you try to do it, it'll knock you on your fanny. You know, it's got a lot of pressure. And if you try to change it this way, it'll really push it. But he got that thing so that you can put a hole in the floor and just turn it like this. Yeah, that nozzle. It's called the Blanchard nozzle.
Wow.
And
they probably improved on it over the years. And
yeah. Then he also made a stretcher that you tie the guy in and lower him through the window with a rope. And you ought to see Don, they had a picture of Don. He's all tied up in the stretcher and they're lowering him down. And the people are down there, they catch him. Instead of going down stairways, the fire in the stairway or anything, it was really good. But I don't see him use them very much, at least in the
they must
news.
have something better now. That's all I can think.
It's called the FlexiCot, the Blanchard FlexiCot. Gee, I can remember that. Yeah.
Now, what about your ancestor that was into hot air balloons? What do you know about him?
Yeah, well, Jean, Jean, Blanchard,
Jean-Pierre.
he crossed the channel in the balloon, first one to cross, and he landed near New Jersey, in Philadelphia, I guess, because my sister lived in Camden, New Jersey, and every year they had a big celebration of his crossing. And you'd see, if the weather was right, nice and quiet, you'd see these all colorful big balloons with people in them
That's beautiful.
over the landscape. And
And we have a plane, a boat crossing right now as you're talking. I wonder who that is.
oh, look at that. Rowboat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know around here.
we had a little book out in here. Remember Diane sent us?
Oh, yeah.
A little book, all illustrated and everything on Jean Blanchard. Do you know how to put your hand on that?
It's in our books. It's in our
Could,
books.
could be up over Mary's, huh?
Yeah, and
We had some books up there.
let's see, who else would have it?
But that
Robert
leads
would
to
have it.
A balloon. We had a teacher in school, in high school, who loved balloons, and she bought a balloon, and she had a basket for it. And one day she comes right by here and she yells at the kids, and we yelled at her, "Stop for supper! You know, well, not today!" And, that was fun.
That was fun.
Here she is going right by there.
One
Wow.
of Diane's teachers.
Do you remember that? You're yelling at it, maybe you weren't in that bunch, yeah.
No, too bad.
That was cute.
But John Pierre was in your family.
Well, that's all I know is my father always said he was a relative way back. But
Distant cousin.
I never looked it up to see if he, in fact, is.
Somebody did.
But you probably could find it if you look up in your machine, but it seems to have everything. But
Plus, there's probably a million John Blanchards. You know, over the
but
centuries.
he always thought so. Yvonne did.
If we did the gene, we would have found it.
Study.
Hmm.
Some of its leave aside. I guess he was the first balloonist, but I don't know if it was the first balloonist to cross the channel, maybe.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that was it.
they used balloons in World War One because they could see far. See, so you go up and look and see the enemy, and then pull them down, and you tell the colonel what's going on. But the fighters used to come in there and knock them down. You know, with their machine guns.
Hey, the sun's out. What are we doing?
Hey, look at that.
With the sun out, we should be out in the sun.
Well, that was great.
Thank you.
Boy, you guys are good listeners, I tell you. Thanks for your patience. But you're going to hang around if you're that tight around what the Catholics do. You know. I belong to the Knights of Columbus,
When can you take these out?
but I
I'm
don't
gonna wait.
do much
Let 'em soak
in it
for a little
anymore.
bit, and
Too
after
old, but
I get done
Robert
with this
is.
and I've gotten up my
belongs
fish,
to
then
the
I'll
Knights of Columbus. And,
I like to,
so you're around Catholics when they have a meeting and so
I mean, I brought that up from home, but I wasn't using it.
and they do something, put on a nice feed for people in church or something.
Oh, no.
Hey,
This
he
is
does
nothing
the
that's all
dishes,
that
you know.
it's so
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But she was great.
Always choose a job that nobody wants. I do it in work too, sometimes. There was one guy at work that hard to get along with. He fly off the handle easy and that stuff. So the boss had me work with him. But we get to be good friends. And I was glad because he needed a friend. That's his father was seeing him off. So. He had a lot of friends. He'd get razzed by some guys when he walks by. You know what? You know. But something about sex to him. And he'd have to yell back, yeah, but I keep the sex at home. To them, you know. That was his answer. But some of these guys, you know, won't go over. But he put him right in the place.
Wow.
Something I wouldn't dare to say, but he'd yell it out.
Wow.
Yeah, but. So I thought I'd pass that on to you. Anyhow,
Where did you work together? Where was that?
for the state, when I worked for the state on the transportation department, we had to check on accidents and all that kind of stuff, all printed out in sheets. And sometimes we had to work together for that stuff. And he's dead already. But he had 10 or 11 kids too.
Wow.
But he could razz for it. Probably because he talked too much. He opened his mouth too much, and so they razz him. But I try to keep my mouth shut. That's the only way I sort of getting out of it. You know.
That's smart.
You know, you do what you think at the time. But I didn't mind him giving me tough job. Because, sometimes you take the tough job, nobody else wants it, they leave you alone, see? And I remember in the Army, I was doing the kitchen police, you know, sweeping up, I had to scrub the floor. And this was down in Florida, it was hot. And I was glad because nobody else wanted the job. I had to do pots and pans in a hot kitchen. But I was looking at it that way. Hey, all day and nobody has to on my ear,
Right.
and nobody else wants the job. It was great that way.
See, that's
And I could eat. I was in the kitchen. And I could get these ice cream sandwiches. Get an ice cream sandwich once in a while. The cook would say, okay, you know. It was great. So there's good sides to it.
so that's like the paradox you were telling me about.
Exactly, yeah. And when I did a tough job, they were didn't mind if I went on a coffee break or something. Yeah, you get no lip.
Oh yeah.
So there's two sides to that baby.
Will you say the story again about why you didn't become a priest? Because I want to get it on here. You just told it.
Yeah. See, my close friend joined Marino, and he was getting on a bus to go down to the novitiate to start Marino. And I was on, well, I took him in my car to the bus. And while we're going along, you know, he said, which way you gonna go? And I said, I'm not sure. He said, well, why don't you just come with me? He said, don't think about it, you know, come with me. And so before we got to our destination where he got off and got on the bus, I had time to think of an answer for him. And I said, no, I've been thinking about it. No, I think I want the married life. And he got on the bus, and that was it. He went, and he became a missionary.
Dad, all I can say is, phew! Because I wouldn't be here.
That's true.
Thank you.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look back, maybe.
Carol and Mike,
Or us, yeah.
you wouldn't be here either.
What did you picture? What was the dream?
I pictured a small cottage. There was a fence around with roses and a fence. And I'm coming home and I'm going to open the gate, and my wife's waiting at the door. And I thought that was a thrill. And that's what I liked.
Aw.
That got me started thinking along those lines. And Gladys used to do that. She'd go out with her apron, you know, and meet me up to the...
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, and she was the perfect part for us. So you have to have a vision in your head, it looks like to me. You gotta have a dream to do anything. You must have a dream of doing something and yourself. And that helps you make up your mind what you'd like to do. And when we went to the altar and took those vows, I grit my teeth and said, I do. You know, in other words, I'm going to do this for life.
Wow.
And so then it hits you, you know, so you say, I do. I remember my brother Lindy doing that. He was right at the altar, and I could see him saying, I do. And so I did it myself. And so I tried to stick to it, through thick and thin. And I'll tell you, the 20s and 30s, I found it tough because we had beautiful ladies working all around us in the transportation department. And they were all very nice and everything else, but I had to close my eyes and go home, you know. And I say that with all due respect, it's just that at that age, you're tempted. I don't know if I was, I try to drive away at the thought of it quick. That's the only way to get out.
Yeah, you don't entertain the thought.
Don't entertain
Yeah.
the thought, the word. And I found that hard at times. I have to do it quick and do something else.
That's so true. Remember you told me when you were playing baseball, you stopped playing because the minor leagues, they
Oh, yeah.
stray a bit?
Yeah, I had a chance to go to the Dodgers farm team because the guy in the Army was a scout for the farm for the Dodgers. And he was in my outfit. And he says, hey, I think I can do something for you. Why don't you come down and meet the Dodgers after the war's over, you know. And but I thought it over. I told him, no, I'm not interested. Because I found teams, from the little knowledge I got, there's a lot of marriages and divorces and going out with people and it shouldn't be, and I didn't want to get wrapped up in that. So I'm willing to give up baseball not to do that.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the Tory.
Did you make the right choice?
Oh, definitely, because even today, you still don't know if you're going to make the pros, right? And look, there's a lot of guys still in the farm system, sometimes for 9 years before they get fixed. Some guy left or something, and he showed, all of a sudden he showed he's pretty good. And I think one of them was the top hitter for the Red Sox. I can't think, he began with a B. This was a couple of years ago. And he was hitter, left-hand hitter, and he got the most hits. And but 9 years he was in it. And I noticed after he did finally get married, he had trouble with his marriage.
Oh.
Stuff like that. So
Well,
I'm just trying to put
It's
first
not
things
one.
first. That's all.
yeah, it's not worth it.
Not worth it. That's the way I go. Signing off.